with all of you. Thank you for joining us. And I just want to give a brief heads up that this will be recorded and live streamed. So if you're absolutely camera shy, just know that there will be this little window down in the bottom of the screen where you potentially could be featuring on any sort of streaming platform. So just know for yourself. Hereby warned as to the stipulations of European data regulation thingy. Alright, Agus, are we good to take this show on the road?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, please.
On behalf of the co-organizing parties, the Faculty of Archaeology, the Leiden University Center for Digital Humanity, and the Value Foundation, I'd like to welcome you all here to this particular playthrough of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. We have a couple of very cool ideas in mind of what we're going to be trying to do in this game. Of course it's a game, so we never know if that is going to be working out. By the way, Angus Mol, Dr. Random is my moniker online. At the wheels today we have Krijnboom, also known as Megalithic. And as the content guardian over here, we've got Agus Imir Politopoulous. And as the people that are providing the content, aside from you, because feel free to break in with questions or anything like that, just raise your hand and I'll come and bring the mic to you. We have Marike van Aerde and Janric van rookhuijzen.
Yeah, so Marike, some of you know, we are college students. At the very least, probably was in one of the courses. A postdoctorate fellow here at the Faculty of Archaeology, working on the Silk Road networks. She did also a PhD here at the BD project of Microsoft Slaus. And we have Janric here as well, an expert really on all things Greek. Did his PhD at Nijmegen, and now a very postdoctoral fellow here at Leiden University. Unfortunately, not at the Faculty of Archaeology.
Or fortunately, only because it's nice actually, have some cross-disciplinary engagements for sure.
So he's working a lot with the Acropolis, symbolism, Athens specifically in Parthenon, so this will be a useful discussion.
Does a whole course on Herodotus.
Yeah. So there will be a lot of
invited a lot of his students over here, so welcome to all of you who made it all the way across the rails to this faraway Faculty of Archaeology. Thank you for joining us. And yeah,
feel free to ask them questions as well, if you want, or just point out things. This is a completely informal setting. We'll just be playing and see where this game leads us. Minor spoiler warning. We are sort of a little bit less.
Spoiler.
Yeah, major spoiler warning. We are a little bit here, a little bit before the halfway point of the game. And what the quest that we will be doing is part of the main quest. So if for some reason you don't want to be spoiled at all about this, well, you've been warned.
Leave now.
You can leave now.
you can leave now or be spoiled.
Or be spoiled.
So you should leave. Marike should be leaving. So Agus, what happens until the halfway point, roughly? Who are we? What are we doing here? Where are we?
So we are Cassandra. We started from the island of Kefalonia in the Ionian Peloponnesian right there.
Beware, there is going to be a lovely, right on cue spoken Greek words, because of course Agus actually knows how to speak Greek. So that's pretty good. For
being Greek, I don't
so not Kefalonia, but actually. Yeah.
So yeah, I will. If you can't understand the names, probably you're the one speaking them wrongly.
Sure.
So we are starting from Kefalonia. We've gone all the way from Phokis, Megara, at the island of Evia, Skiros, Andros, that you see in the Aegean. And from there, we are for the first time, not the first time actually, but we are in Attica and in Athens. So we are starting from Athens, and what we're going to do first, I guess, is we are going to walk a little bit around the city.
First thing, we're going to jump off from a humongous statue.
Yeah. Also, for those who are on the stream, just let us know if the sound is fine. We can just adjust on the fly. So just let us know on the chat. We are monitoring. Standard has us in practice. We can already see one of a standard figure of classical Greece Demosthenes. talking.
I remember for the very first trailer of Assassin's Creed that somebody jumped off a church in Jerusalem, and everybody's like, oh, what's gonna be just jumping off a church? And then of course the family haystack and everybody's like, yay! And it still feels awesome to do this in the game.
So where are we now? In Athens. Yeah, we are. But I guess more in particular we are up in the Acropolis, right? You jump off a statue, a large statue of Athena. We're going to talk a little bit about this. But this is, I guess, Parthenon.
Yes, for sure. And a couple of weeks ago, Janric actually approached me because he wanted to see the Parthenon in digital 3D live, basically. Because I'm sure that you've seen it. First impressions?
Well, I think that the game and the reconstruction of the Acropolis and the Parthenon in particular just looks amazing, and you can really tell that the designers went out of their ways to try to be very faithful to the actual archaeology and history as far as we can reconstruct it. Because of course there is a lot of discussion about how these buildings what these buildings actually look like, and what was where at any given point in time. So I believe they are trying to reconstruct the 430s BC. Is that correct?
It's the Peloponnesian War, so that is?
It's the beginning of the Peloponnesian War, so somewhere around 430 to 427 BC. And yeah, it's more or less the parts of the Acropolis that were constructed by that time, because not everything was completed.
Not everything was completed, with the Parthenon, the big temple that you see here, and that the Greeks actually didn't call Parthenon at the time, that they called it the Hekatonpodon, the 100 feet long temple, was there already. It was just finished, and I think we're now approaching the cella, or the naos of this great temple, where we see the big statue of Athena, made out of ivory and gold, and the sources tell us that it was approximately 10 meters tall, and as you can see, it held a smaller statue, which was life-size, of the goddess Nike, victory in her hand. So yeah, you can see also, I guess, on the walls that there were a lot of other treasures to be seen in this specific room. And you can also see that the goddess is standing on a pedestal which has a representation of the myth of Pandora. And we actually know what the statue looked like because there are representations of it, copies. One of the best of those is in the National Museum in Athens. It's a very tiny statue, but this statue, the big statue here, was so popular that people were copying it and putting it, all across the Greek world and also far beyond in the Roman Empire.
So, of course, normally that would be a sacrilege, climbing on the statue of the goddess Athena, but this is Assassin's Creed. Nothing is sacred in terms of climbing on, at least. So, for the absolute layman that may be, well, layman, not necessarily, for somebody that doesn't know anything about Athena, or in fact this temple, what, you immediately identified as Athena, so how come?
Well, you can actually say that Athena is the city goddess of Athens, so you can already expect from being inside this huge temple that Athena is going to be the goddess of that.
He's just pilfering the temple box. So.
Yeah. But the other thing is, of course, that you can clearly see that Athena has this kind of military aspect to her cult. So she's not just the city goddess and the goddess of wisdom, but she's also clearly a goddess that gives victory if you sacrifice to her. So that's what this statue is meant to represent.
Actually, to jump in here, on a more technical archaeological detail, because I'm looking, and I've not reached Athens in the game yet, I'm looking at the color scheme of the walls, and some of my students here now discuss this in the lectures. There's actually a lot of debate on which particular colors were used in the decoration of marbles. For example, the Elgin marbles in the British Museum, all the pigments are actually stripped off. Here, as we see, the frieze is extremely bright. Wow, okay, this is the first time I see it. And the redness of the walls, I know that studies don't agree on this. Throughout this game, from what I've seen, often I think choices are also made. It's a game, so there is an aesthetic quality. And I know from Faculty of Archaeology, where one of my students wrote a thesis, and I wrote the thesis about that game, and we read up on the developers as well, that they really seem to mix archaeological detail of decorations that we don't know with what they believe feels right. So, and this is of course when you're creating archaeology in a virtual environment that is actually a commercial output, this is a sort of a balancing game. Now also keep in mind that we are now strolling inside the temple, but of course in Greek society almost all the offerings would be outside, on the altar in front, and normal people would not be allowed inside the temple. Of course in the game, to exclude gamers from entering the temple would mean you can't see all the beauty inside. But technically, if you were just an Athenian, you would make your offerings well outside. So, and often, this is also what Pausanias writes. Pausanias, Greek author who describes all the famous architecture and statues of the Greek world. He writes about the icon statue of Athena, but not everyone can see it. And there's very much a religious context for that. Like in the famous processions, then the statues in the Republic with the shroud, the way these statues were approached were very much as living embodiments of the God. So what we see here, trying just strolling in and having a look, is of course great for us, but it's a very free interpretation, of course, of how life really would have been in Athens at the time. Of course, that's not the intention of the game, but for us as archaeologists, that is an interesting contrast. On the other hand, I think the ability to walk around a famous architectural landmark like this is, I really think it adds something for students as well, and for people who are of an interest in archaeology. So, well, on the one hand, I tend to always nitpick about that color is probably not right, and this pigment was not discovered. We need to balance this out with the merit of the actual output and the availability, I think, of something like this.
From a game development point of view, of course, there's a relatively famous rule that Ubisoft has. It's the 30-second Wikipedia rule, or the 30-second Google rule. Everything that they can find, the details that they can find within 30 seconds on Wikipedia gets to go to the game, and everything that's not findable within those 30 seconds, so all those discussions about what pigment should we go where, is sort of free for them to end up riffing about, basically. Except, of course, for those super major important. So I'm thinking that something, I always feel that the 30-second rules probably would not apply to something that is so out there as this particular. This, I'm sure, is better researched than 30 seconds.
No, exactly, and that's what I wanted to say. This is the back room of the Parthenon, and you can see this, I guess, right, we're still in the Parthenon. And it has the four, inside it has 4 Ionian pillars, which are different from the rest, and they are actually there, if you look up.
All right, some more content for people that don't know all the pillar shapes.
So we have 2 different types of pillar shapes. We have more than 2, but 2 are the main types of pillar shapes in ancient Greece. One is the Dorian, and the other one is the Ionian, and this one with the waves is the Ionian. And in the Parthenon they had 4 pillars on the back room that were like this, and then the pillars on the main room with or on the other room anyway. With the statue are Dorian, I believe, and they're also 2, one on top of the other, if I'm not mistaken. It will come back.
This will happen now and again, because it's a $10,000 screen or something, but at the same time, it's hiccups.
Yeah. My only problem with this temple is, and it's with all the temples in this game, is the pediments. So the pediment is a triangular thing on the front of the roof and on the back, and they haven't made any pediment correct.
Help me out. I haven't got a clue what this person is talking about. What is incorrect?
This one is correct. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, so the pediment is this triangular piece of the temple that is filled with sculpture normally, and I'm just seeing this for the first time, so I'm trying to make sense of it. So this should be, if we follow Pausanias, the Lonely Planet kind of guide of the 2nd century AD, this should be actually the contest between the goddess Athena and the god Poseidon for ownership of the land of Athens. And if I'm not mistaken, this pediment should actually show an olive tree, and there are horses, but they are not in the center of the pediment. So it's not completely true to what we think the pediment looked like. And of course, the sculptures of this pediment are partially preserved in the British Museum as part of the so-called Elgin marbles.
Yeah.
And this is a major point of contestation, I think the major point of contestation in archaeology between the Greek state and the British Museum. And because, of course, many Greek people would like to see those sculptures to be returned to Athens in the new museum, which is built right next to the Acropolis.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, if you go to the Acropolis Museum, you can see that all the marbles that are in the British Museum have not been represented there, so there are empty slots where they should be, as a symbol that it's there, they're waiting for the return. At the same time, this thing at the top, it's extremely well
copied. You love it, that's why I'm showing it.
And it's one of my favorite pieces of the entire temple, which is very weird. It's sort of a standard decoration for this type of temples, but this one is really big and really impressive. And there's we found quite a few pieces of one of them, and it's actually reconstructed at the Acropolis Museum.
And that's how you found the pieces, because people kept on climbing on them.
Yeah, and then they broke down.
A nice addition to that, one of my friends is writing her PhD on roof terracottas, Greek roof terracottas. So I was doing a gaming session on temples, and the roof terracottas are those flower-like stand-up. Yeah, the one she's jumping on now. Yeah, it's just not what my friend is doing with her PhD, I hope. But anyway, so I got carried away and I kept exploring them and sending her photos and saying, is this correct? And actually, as it turned out, when I started in different areas, in Kefalonia, then in Megaris, and I sent her these images, and oh, this is Laconian, typical, and it was always quite correct. So, and this is definitely not something you can research in 30 seconds. So that was actually impressive, I think. So it seems they have put a lot of effort in those little details of the roofs. So I haven't made it to Athens yet, so I haven't checked this with her. But yeah, so I'm a bit of a nerd, I guess you can tell.
Don't worry, I think that qualifies for all of us here presently. Maybe we're not exactly the same type of nerd, but there's always some nerdiness going on there. I was wondering about the rest of the Acropolis as well. And that's a nice thing in this game. You cannot buy fall damage anymore.
You can, but it's an upgrade.
I said an upgrade. Okay, well, we're upgraded already. I didn't even know I did that. The big, even bigger statue in the middle of the Acropolis. And what's that about?
Well, we read in the sources about a huge statue of Athena that was put outside and was completely made out of bronze, supposedly made of the weapons that the Athenians had gathered from the battlefield of Marathon close by in Attica. So they would have created this huge statue of Athena that you could see, from a very large distance. You could see the point of the helmet, I believe, shining bright in the sun as you approach Athens by ship. So I'm actually wondering whether you can see that in the game as well. And so this was a focal point for the Acropolis, of course. And I like the detail that they put up here is people actually worshipping this statue. I don't think we actually read that in the sources, but it might actually be correct with the historical reality behind it. Now, something that I've seen the trailers and specific videos that where people walk around the Acropolis. So I've seen some of it before. One thing that they didn't really get correct is actually the area behind this huge statue of Athena. So maybe we can have a look there. So we're now approaching the area of the so-called Erechtheion, the temple devoted to a mythical king of Athens. So we're now walking towards that building, where you see also the so-called caryatids, 6 girls, virgins, who are proceeding forward from the temple. And they are very iconic. I think most of you have seen them before in courses. We don't really know what they represent, although I have a theory of my own.
Yeah. Go ahead. This is the moment.
Right. So
YouTube is listening.
So there is a huge debate about the origin of the name Parthenon, which means the room of the maidens, the room of the virgins. And so I already told you that the big temple was actually called Hekatonpedon by the ancient people themselves. And then we do find in the classical period, so right after all of this was built, we do find the name Parthenon appearing in inscriptions. And people have said that Parthenon should still be something on the Acropolis, probably the room where all the gold was that we just visited before in the big temple, in the Hekatonpedon. But that just doesn't work, because that should actually be called the Opistholomos, the back room, which also appears in the inscription. So what is then the Parthenon, the virgin room? And so one of the arguments I'm making at the moment is that actually the girls that we see in the background right now is actually that original Parthenon. And it's very controversial, as you can imagine. It's very, it could be groundbreaking, but I hope that to tell you more in the near future about how this is going to proceed. But so, if that is the Parthenon, that means that actually that temple was devoted entirely to Athena and not to Erechthia. So I would really like to go inside to see what the designers of the game did with it, and there should be the smaller statue of Athena actually inside of this, in this side. So let's check it out.
Ooh, exciting to see what will pop up now. Oh.
So, wow. So yeah. So this.
If you get a wow from the expert, that's well done. There you go, Ubisoft.
Well, it's actually more or less as I imagine it to be, except that the statue should look a little bit different. Sources tell us that this statue of Athena should be more or less a shapeless olive wood small statue of Athena that you wouldn't be able to tell that it's Athena except for the decoration that it had in terms of necklaces, bracelets, an owl, and other things that make it an Athena. So this looks very much like a classical or Hellenistic statue, but this Xoanon, as the ancients called it, would actually have look more like something very archaic, something straight out of the Bronze Age, if you want to do something good. But people, it would have stood at this particular place, and people, might have come inside as well to pray to her. But then the question is, what is on the other side of the building?
We're going to do some live archaeology right now. What was on the other side of the building?
So, there we have him. So this side is usually explained as the side belonging to Erechtheus, the mythical king of Athens. And so I think that's him.
A little bit like Poseidon, I guess.
Yeah, so they were identified. Yeah. Poseidon was, well, Erechtheus was killed by Poseidon in one of the myths, but then Athena actually herself said, well, now you two are one and the same god, so and the Athenians should sacrifice to you both in somewhere on the Acropolis. Now, ever since the 17th century, when people came to the Acropolis to find the temples that they read about in texts, they found this building because it's actually quite well preserved. If anyone of you who has been to the Acropolis before recognizes this building immediately. But people would have so people immediately identified this building with the Erechtheion, but there's just no way that we can really tell whether this site would have been sacred to Erechtheus. And I think it's not. I think this was actually this so-called Parthenon, where the treasures of the most holy treasures of Athena would be stored, and perhaps also be connected to the cult of the mythical daughters of Erechtheus that you see represented as the Caryatids.
I will provide some scholarly debate.
All right.
So also one of the things that first of all, just a small story for the Erechtheion. So one of the Caryatids is also at the British Museum, and so its place is empty in the Acropolis Museum, but there is a story that when the workers who were picking up the statue and put it into a box, they started carrying it towards the port of Piraeus to leave it there so the ship could pick it up. The legend says that they heard crying from the box, and they were so scared that they left it there and nobody would go and pick it up. And then for the entire night, first night that the Caryatid was not there, you could hear cries all over Athens for the lost sister of the Caryatids. So this is one of the...
That's a bit of object agency right there.
Yes. Yeah. In regards to the building, one of my favorite aspects of the building is on one of its sides where the Erechtheus should be. There is supposed to be on the roof a small empty spot, so a roof tile missing basically, because it's where one of the first kings of Athens was shot by Zeus, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there are different theories about it, but maybe we can check it out. Can you go up on the roof of the building and then specifically to the site where we entered, where we saw the statue of Erechtheus?
Yeah.
Because it would be cool to see if they represented that hole in the roof.
I don't think so.
It's not.
No. So it should be there.
Yeah, just.
But this
is
2
meters to the right. It should have been there.
It should have been there. So the idea is that a thunder of Zeus struck through there and killed the first king.
We found the borders of Wikipedia. It's over there in a little hole in the roof.
And at the same time, we know that below the actual building there were some Mycenaean graves, which we don't really know a lot about the Mycenaean level or the earlier levels of the Acropolis, but we know that there was probably something older, something quite older, and it is possible that the Athenians sort of identified with this location as a part of their historic origins.
It's pretty awesome. I selected it myself.
Well, so one of the things that is actually missing, connected to those Mycenaean graves, close to the so-called Erechtheion, is, as I said, behind the statue of Athena, there would have been the remains of supposedly something like a Mycenaean palace structure or a temple that would still be standing partially at that site in the classical period at the time of the game, so at about 430. And this would be a place where Athenians could come and say, well, this is the place of our ancestors. This is where the kings of yesteryear lived and maybe died as well, because their graves were there.
This is a part of the Parthenon that's under construction, which is very interesting that it's there because it was actually, as you said, under construction at that point. And this is very close to the entrance, so to the Propyla, which was not fully completed by that time. And the largest part of it was, but not the entire thing, I believe. And this is a small temple of Athena Victorious, which was at the entrance on the side, sort of a treasury-like temple. But this is a part I really like, the way up and down from the Parthenon, because it feels quite authentic. We're not sure exactly how it would go up. Nowadays there are stairs, but back then there would be stairs. But it feels really nice, like the way up, and as you see the monument going up. So now we're at the actual city of Athens.
Does any of you know the landscape around you well enough to see if the rocks are actually also in the right place?
No, not really.
No, I mean you were born there, right?
Yeah. No, but
on the Parthenon.
No, not on the Parthenon. It would be fun. Although I don't remember it correctly. But there was supposed to be, the landscape becomes smaller as you get out of the Parthenon. One of the interesting things is that there are a lot of monuments around the Parthenon, around the Acropolis rather.
You mean in the game?
In the game and in reality.
And in reality as well. Okay.
Yeah. Sure. So there is the theater of Dionysius, and there is the Odeon, and all this stuff are on the slopes of the Acropolis. So on the western slope we see all the monuments that should be there, and for the most part the monuments are there. So this is very good.
Alright, I want to run into that there's a couple of beers left still, or some soda, so feel free to help yourself with that. But maybe it's also nice to do some reactions or impressions from the crowd here. Who of you has already played the game? That's not too many. So have you already? What were the spoilers for you?
No, I'm already quite far. So actually too far.
You're too far. You're
addicted. Yeah, it sucks me in.
Yeah. It is a very smoothly designed game, I would say, that just makes you go back and back and back and do that one more quest and that one more quest. So no spoilers, but have you progressed beyond the end of the game?
Not yet. I think I will do so in a few days.
Okay, good. For me, it's Red Dead Redemption 2 that came through in the middle of this game. I will have to get back to it at some point, because we were also writing a review about this game for the Transcendental Virtual Practice.
Yeah.
So we're just also sucking all the knowledge you've got right now and putting that in the review. Just kidding.
Look for this somewhere in August.
Somewhere in August, yeah, long way off. In scholarly literature, reviews take much longer to actually digest. Anybody else played this game, and anybody else spent quite as long strolling around the Parthenon?
Well, not yet. I'm level 25, but I haven't been to Athens yet.
How is that even possible?
Pleasure later.
I get distracted by everything.
Cool. So, what of the historical landmarks have you been distracted by so far?
Delphi. Wonderful.
We're gonna go there.
We're gonna go there too. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Anybody else have been playing? If you haven't played, you can also still say stuff.
I have a small question. We have now seen big, impressive temples, but what about the small houses where the normal people live? How do they live?
Yeah, very good question. Because of course there's a tendency among scholars like us to focus on quote-unquote elite architecture. But that's how did the normal people like you and I would have been in that time live?
That's fucking interesting.
Yeah, so Greek houses for normal people, let's put it that way. Actually, in one of my other lectures, I did a whole thing about this as well, about some recent reconstructions and excavations of houses that they would have a second story, that they would use wooden balconies and scaffolding for building the houses. I mean, what I've seen so far, and you can see it a little bit around here as well, there seems to be a lot of creative license, I think, being used here. Also, I've noticed in almost where I've been so far is that the houses are deliberately made white and blue, which is of course how a lot of houses in the Greek islands look now. That's not necessarily how they would have looked in antiquity. But I remember in Phokis, around Delphi, some of the structures of the houses, which would be situated around the courtyard, and some of the earlier theories were very much that every part of the house was dedicated to a specific member of the family. So you had the women's quarters and the men's quarters. However, some more recent studies actually indicate that the activities in the house would have varied throughout the day. So that in the morning the women would be weaving in the andron, the men's room, and then in the evening that's where the man would meet with friends and hold the symposium. It's actually Chiara Piccoli, who also works here, who has worked on this a lot. I've not seen any of that, this division of specific Greek houses inside the houses. Actually, most of the houses here look pretty much the same as the Egyptian mud brick houses looked in Assassin's Creed Origins. So it seems to me that they used a template for this game that coincides with Origins. And although the mud brick houses we saw, like at the outskirts of Alexandria in that game, they coincide more with the actual archaeological sources we do have. But here, the houses of normal people seem to be less accurate, maybe. But it's also, this research is less well known, of course.
It's beyond the 30 seconds of
it is definitely beyond the 30 seconds, but I'm like you, when I'm exploring big cities, I actually really like to stroll around the marketplaces and the harbors and also see what do they sell in their carts, and what do all the amphora and pottery look like. And one thing I noticed, I mean, here you have some, but like in the ports, they often have the amphora painted, like they look like the typical Greek vases. Of course, they would not be painted, they would be baked. So I always then start to nitpick again and say, oh, this is a painted vase. It wouldn't be like that. It would be in a kiln, it would be baked. And if it's used for transport in a port, it would be most likely a bare amphora. But still, I do enjoy it very much. Here you see a lot of the actual potter on a wheel. And I do really think it's great that the game goes out of its way to add these details as well. So yes, we have the great temples, the Parthenon or not Parthenon, or the different Parthenon, we will have to find out. But also really these the markets and the streets, and sometimes they are muddy and there are beggars, and I like this immersive aspect that even if it's not completely correct, I think, especially for students of archaeology, it really helps to give you a feeling of what it may be like.
A bit of virtual tourism, of course.
Yeah, the next step would be
for sure.
Let's see a question?
Yeah, are any rivers modeled? Because I know back in the day, loads of rivers flowing through.
I'm sorry, I can't hear
I'm gonna help you out, sir. And you will be heard by the entire Faculty of Archaeology.
Alright. Are there any rivers modeled? Because I know back in ancient times, Athens was, they had a lot of rivers flowing through.
Are there any, sorry.
Rivers, water, streams.
Streams. You mean
In
in Athens or?
In the game.
In the game, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of water that you cross, and
In the city.
Whether
there's rivers in Athens.
No. I think most of the water would be kept in cisterns.
No, they have
But they had rivers back in ancient times.
There's one. You see.
You have to be a riverologist, sir.
There used to be way more than one, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a whole water management in ancient cities is a whole other question, of course. I mean, how would it be with water pipes? I mean, I'm not an expert on the Greek cities, of course. On the Roman cities, you have the plumbing, and cities like Ostia and Pompeii, you have even where they use gravity in their aqueduct systems. But I do also remember from Origins, they have a lot of detail in the irrigation systems along the Nile. So I would probably, I hope at least, I'm not quite there yet, that the same amount of detail is added to it. And I always think such practical matters as where were the rivers, where did they get their water, really adds to the archaeological picture. And interesting to add actually, in this research my student did on Origins, she had a survey with non-archaeologists as well, and she asked, do not archaeologists people also care about this, or is it just us that we say, where are the rivers, where are the cisterns? And it seems that it did add to people's overall experience. So I think it's important not just for history buffs to say it has to be right, but I think people really pick up on that. So, yeah.
And at the same time, of course, there's the aspect of the game that rivers, especially in Assassin's Creed, which is very about smooth movement in cityscapes or in landscapes, they really break up the reversal to terrain because you have to swim through them. So, and aside from that, of course, we also do not, although we think we do not want our cities to scale, because in fact, even ancient Athens would be very, very, very large. So that's also why you end up scaling down things like rivers. And having worked a bit on landscapes with Minecraft, I think one of the hardest things to scale down is many rivers in one place.
No, but that's true, and one of the things that I've noticed in the game, so Athens is a huge city to go through. If you go nowadays, especially in Athens, it's just humongous. But also in Assassin's Creed, it still feels really big, even though it's scaled down. Like going from one side to the other, or going from the center to Piraeus, it is a long way if you want to walk it.
Already?
Yeah, and or rather, it feels like a long way because it's like 2 minutes or 3 minutes, right? When you would take, I don't know, by car, it would take you about 15-20 minutes otherwise, by car. So, but yeah, it would be interesting if they have included more rivers, because, as also said, there should be like 2 big rivers, which is also part of the reason of why we have so much archaeology in Athens. There is a lot of sedimentation on top because of the rivers, and a lot of things have been preserved. If you're today in ancient Agora, the ancient stuff are really, really low, and where the tavernas are, you're really high in comparison. So you can really tell how much has piled up on top.
You're now in the port area.
Now we're in the port area.
Where 2,000 years later, or even 2,500 years later, I had probably one of the top best 3 beers in my life.
Really?
Yeah, because I was traveling from Istanbul. I was doing the Interrail thing that you do when you're, a young adult. And I had been in the train for I think about 36 hours or something like that. And got out, just went to the nearest water source, sea source, the port of Piraeus, and I don't even remember where this had Amythos, which is also not the best Greek beer at all, but it just tastes divine at that point.
I would argue that it's the worst Greek.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would.
But no, we are at the port, yeah. And do we have any insights into the port and how it looks?
I'm not too familiar with that, but what I do know is that, there is the museum in Piraeus, which has amazing bronze statues of different gods and goddesses that were found in shipwrecks. So shipwrecks are, of course, a very important source for our knowledge on specifically for sports sites. And unfortunately, today we cannot do too much research in Piraeus itself because it's also built over like much of the rest of Athens. So,
but we don't see that many bronze statues around, or I don't know if there are any shipwrecks actually within the area of the port. At least I haven't found any.
Well, another feature of Piraeus is the long walls that were built between the city of Athens and Piraeus. And I do think that we see some structures of walls which, so in the game they represented Piraeus and Athens as being very close to each other, but in reality they were much more distant. So, right.
Over there, right?
Yeah.
So, sorry, the question exactly about these walls, because I was wondering how realistic are those fortifications here compared to the ancient city?
Again, I don't know too much about fortifications in the classical period, and frankly, I don't think we know so well because we don't have too much actual fortifications from that time preserved, but we do have a few Hellenistic examples, I think, from Boeotia and from other places in Greece. So maybe you know more about this.
Well, we have only very few remains around Athens of walls. Most of the best attested walls are, of course, on the Acropolis itself, on the wall of the Acropolis, but they would likely not be very representative of how let's say, the long walls connecting Athens to Piraeus would be. I think how they are represented here is relatively convincing. I find it interesting that they actually have a long stretch of 2 walls enclosing an area that connects Athens and Piraeus. And this is both very nice because something like that was there. We don't really know what they mean by the long walls. But also we know that the Athenians were sort of trapped in the long walls for a very long period. So they had to be wide and large to fit the population of Athens, or at least part of the population of Athens. And a little bit of historical spoiler is how Pericles dies in reality.
The perfect spoiler!
In case you haven't gotten there in history yet. But Pericles also dies in the sickness or in the famine rather and struck Athens during one of the sieges in the Peloponnesian War. So let's move a little bit forward on the story instead of just being tourists around the city of Athens.
What we're doing is something that I always love to do in a Assassin's Creed game for about an hour or two during whatever game I play. Just wander the streets.
Yeah.
But of course, a main draw of it is the actual events of the period that you're playing through, which are very much moving as we speak. I mean, we're in the middle of a war. We're also in the middle of some sort of political complot going on in Athens. So let's see.
Yeah, let's see. Let's let the game roll. Loading times are always long.
This is not a piece for pro, unfortunately.
I'm sorry.
Cassandra, it's you! Phoebe! You promised we'd see each other again, and now we have.
I also said stay out of trouble.
Which I have. Okay, almost out of trouble.
A major new feature.
I can't believe you're here.
Dialogue choice.
I can't believe we both made it to Athens. It's so much different from Kefalonia.
But what are you doing here?
I'm here to get you ready. I have to make sure you leave all your weapons and change into these clothes.
So you somehow work here? For Pericles?
No, for Aspasia.
Are you ready to go in?
No, let's ask why are you working for Aspasia? Aspasia the wife.
How is it you're working for Aspasia?
Well, I did get into a little bit of trouble after I got to Athens. I may have been a leader of a small group of orphans that tried to cheat Aspasia. We didn't know it was her though.
And you convinced her to hire you?
No, she asked me on her own.
That was likely.
Aspasia, also the name of a NWO grant, especially made to support women in science. So there you go.
And my weapons?
Don't worry, I'll take care. You don't want to scare people in there.
Well, I think I'm ready to go.
You can't. Not like that, anyway. The Athenians like it best when you try to fit in. But don't worry, I have just the outfit for you.
Cultural commentary is also particularly interesting that the Athenians were portrayed as kind of the soft guys from the Spartans in comparison. So it's interesting that it has this kind of the Athenian heritage.
It's the Amsterdam canal zone basically, but then it's
And I'll come back when you're done.
Comfortable in this.
Now you look like everyone else.
Say that like it's a good thing.
It is. If you want them to take you seriously, this is the easiest way. Trust me.
Is that everything?
You're all ready to go.
Any experts on Athenian dress?
I'm struggling to think of any right now.
I mean, it looks fine in comparison to what we know from statues and also from text. But besides that, it's mostly statues that we know from the clothing.
I do think for a women's dress, it's way too bare. I mean, the reason we think of the paploid, the hapless dress for women, also we see it in sculptures, only the goddesses that are portrayed nude or half naked, especially Aphrodite. Whereas women would have been, their dresses would at least cover their shoulders and their arms. Also in ancient Greek society, in classical period, women often wouldn't leave the house at certain times, unaccompanied. Being a woman in Athens also meant you weren't a citizen. Only men could be citizens, so if you were a foreigner or a slave or a woman, you had no real role in society. So actually this dress would definitely not be historically correct. Of course, and the attention they pay to the clasps of how they are attached and the the ropes tied around it, that is all based on how that works in the Greek world, but this is clearly a sort of fantasy Greekish dress, and also a woman. I think she's going to join a symposium here, if I'm right.
You're correct.
Yeah, that is of course.
We can discuss the gender aspect of this a little bit more later, but I guess that we
in
can.
symposia women were not allowed.
No, exactly.
That was one of the main rules, so we're breaking that rule, which is not bad.
It's a rule that's supposed to be broken.
Yeah, no, it's not a gender thing, of course, it's just as much part of the history. So I think for gamers, and they also even mentioned this in some of their explanations, that they say sometimes we make a deliberate choice to include women or children, or in school, for example, we have female students, because nowadays we find this important, and of course historically it would not be so. So I think for young kids playing this game, if we all just exclude girls and women, that would be bad, but it is a different representation of the history.
So now let's talk to
the person that you were spending a lot of hours with.
Oh, this is great. Let's see what it is.
Herodotus! Lydians have no problem letting me know when I'm not welcome. It's a relief to see your friendly face.
Don't let the company here tonight intimidate you. Pericles is no king. He needs these guests to love him so that the people love him. And they, in turn, need Pericles. You're no different from any of them.
So it's very interesting that Herodotus shows up here, because he was actually, we believe that he was in Athens at about this time, around 430, so that's perfectly historically feasible. And of course, you all know Herodotus as the father of history, or the father of lies, depending on your perspective. And he wrote the first, let's say, historical history of the world in the second half of the 5th century BC. And he traveled around all of the Greek world to hear different perspectives on various historical events. Most important of those were the Persian War, of course, 480 and 479 BC.
Okay, so it's interesting, this is a symposium where all the famous authors from ancient Athens all come together. So we see Sophocles and Euripides.
And the other one was...
Aeschylus, is he as well?
The other one was Aristophanes.
Oh, Aristophanes, yeah. He was of course a comedy writer, you know, like the frogs and his sister that. And they're all there together with Herodotus. Now, of course, will Socrates show up?
Yep.
Yeah? Great.
It's funny to note that I believe it's Euripides who is, well, he's actually had known Herodotus, and they would have been friends, I believe, in the...
Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, because they were all part of this sort of intellectual milieu, so to speak, in the late 5th century.
And I think this game, like you said, really emphasizes that part of Athens. So it's sort of the softer, intellectual, artistic people. I think earlier on, some of the Spartans would say, oh, Pericles hides among all his artists and sculptors. So we get Phidias as well. Do we get Phidias as well?
We've already seen.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But on one hand, of course, that is where classical Athens is famous for. So I think it is great that they do emphasize it, but clearly it is less tough than the Spartans. Interesting.
I think Socrates seems like a good way to
Oh, yes,
Some things stay the same for 2,000 and more years, for sure.
If you listen closely, you'll notice he and Socrates are actually arguing the same points. But the will of his wild gestures definitely.
So the thing with Socrates is we're actually being very unfair here, because we only know Socrates' text to Plato. Right? So Socrates did not mean writing. So everything we know of what Socrates' philosophy was is from the writings of Plato. Now in Plato, oh, here's Alcibiades.
Oh, Alcibiades, this is not a time for jealousy, but for love.
Okay, that's very typical actually.
Yeah.
Interesting, actually in ancient Greek you would pronounce it Alcibiades. So the emphasis on ancient Greek is often very different from modern Greek. I think here they call it Alcibiades. I studied ancient Greek, so my modern Greek is.
It shouldn't be Alcibiades.
That's something in modern Greek.
Like, depending on how you pronounce it with the Erasmian accent, it should sound something like Alcibiades, so that E would be like sort of elongated, but the V and the D should be quite clear. So, yeah, this is specific.
One thing I want to say about Plato, which is actually interesting. So Plato, before he was a philosopher, he wanted to be a playwright, like Euripides. And apparently, he was so bad at it that he then decided to become a philosopher instead. And this is, some argue, why he wrote dialogues, because all his philosophical text is in dialogue. And I don't know if any of you read it, I remember having to go through the Greek dialogues. It is huge soliloquies, monologues, and then the second person says, "Oh girl, how can it be otherwise?" And then Socrates goes on and on. So when you
clearly a person that, like any academic today, likes to listen to the sound of
so
voice.
we all have this impression of Socrates being quite horrible, but maybe it is just Plato, and maybe Socrates was really very nice, in favor of supporters.
One of the things I really like is this is not 30-second research in the sense that, for Socrates it's sort of common knowledge, but for Euripides and Sophocles and Aristophanes this is all very interesting. Also because it might, I'm not sure what they picked on, but so the whole concept, and we can go through it, is that Sophocles is mad at Euripides, both of them tragic poets, that he is hanging out with this loose comedian. But if you read comedies of Aristophanes, he makes so much fun of Euripides. He says that he always sits on his bed, never goes out, with his feet up and his head down. And that's why he's writing all sorts of stupid tragic plays, because he thinks with his feet in the air. So it's weird that here it shows them hanging out, and Sophocles, being sort of the teacher of Euripides, is a bit frustrated with him, with the whole concept.
I suppose you've come in here to mock me for my fight with Euripides.
Yeah, but...
Yes?
Well, yeah.
Wait,
Option 1. Option 2. Option 3 out of 3.
There's a war at the city walls, suffering, starvation, and you're in here arguing because someone at the party isn't giving you the attention you need?
There's no way to calm down
No, it's not.
I really made a fool of myself this time, didn't I? I'm Sophocles, though I'm sure. And you are?
I am looking for information that will help me find someone. A Spartan woman.
A Spartan woman in Athens. Sounds intriguing. Though, if you expect me to marry someone other than myself, you could talk to her. She's the second most worldly. That pedicus, Xanthodontus exophthalmic morso. But he doesn't talk about it.
I have no idea what that meant.
It's a sort of a commentary on his strategy, but he used a lot of complicated words even for answering that.
So we get him drunk and talks. He sounds more Argive than Athenian.
Yeah, explain the joke.
Argive means from Argos, and it's sort of stereotyping people from Argos as being producing wine and drinking a lot.
Could use the help.
The kitchen should have what you need. Let me know when Euripides is done in. Slip away, Odyssey.
I'll get the wine.
Once friendly advice, Aristophanes cannot stand sweet wine. I've seen what it can do to him. Absolutely horrifying.
It won't be a party without someone losing their stomach. I'll let you know if your plan worked.
It's quite the scene, Queen.
Yeah.
Maybe it's nice to pick up on the comments about the dress earlier.